Salutations, everybody! Welcome back to Total Warhammer 3. I'm Lord Forwind, and today we've got a guide going over siege battles. Of course, this is just, as always, a basics guide, so advanced tactics and stuff won't be covered. We're going to divide this video into several different sections. We'll do an offensive and we'll do a defensive battle, just so you can see the varying tactics on it. And for the first battle here, I picked the Empire because they're a well-rounded faction for the defense, and I picked Norska for the offense. I could have picked other ones, but I think Norska makes sense for at least the first battle. And so let's get into it. Designing a defensive army, and we'll also go over designing an offensive army. But for now, let's talk about defense. So I just auto-generated the Norska army, giving them a couple siege towers and battering rams to make it a little bit more interesting. It's not a perfectly designed army by the AI, but we're not going to worry about that. So for the Empire, we're taking France, and this is the map we're going to fight on, Altdorf. We could have fought on some other ones, but this should work for now. And that's what the map's going to look like. And let's think about what we want to put in it. So Norska is a mainly powerful melee faction with decent heavy armor. So we need to pick armor piercing ranged units, as well as armor piercing tanky melee units, as well as a couple lords to be able to take out their very powerful heroes and lords as well. So we'll definitely snag a warrior priest. We will probably snag a witch hunter and an empire captain. Let's just make sure I put all that. Actually, you know what? I don't know if I actually want them on horseback for this. I'll probably put Franz on Deathclaw and this guy on a Pegasus, but everyone else we want to make sure that they're on the grounds. Otherwise, they can't go on walls. Okay, let's see what else we got to add in here. So we're going to be defending on walls, and so having stuff like handgunners are going to be pretty important because they can actually shoot down and hit enemies. I think I'll probably take 4 handgunner units, probably 4 huntsmen. That should give me plenty to cover any various walls or choke points within the battlefield. We're definitely going to take a handful of greatswords. If we were fighting an enemy with plenty of range, we might instead pick either swordsmen or spearmen with shields, just so that you don't get shot by enemies outside of the fortress shooting in. It can be a problem. We're going to take 2 demigriffs. We'll take 1 rocket battery. Artillery can be difficult to use in battles, so we don't need the most of those. And anything else we want to take particularly? Not really, but considering we're going to be fighting Norska, I think I'll take another melee unit. So, all told, I'm not exactly sure if this army is going to beat them. We'll see. It all depends on how things turn out, but I think we've got a decent shot. Okay, here we are on the battle map. So, I'm going to assume that you guys have never done a battle map outside of maybe the tutorial, so we'll also go over some of the fundamentals and stuff here. So as a defender, you control your city. This is a major settlement battle, by the way, not a minor one. And within it, there are a variety of important things to note. The first one to note is you have various victory points around the battle, and it will tell you where they are up here. And there's one that's particularly important. This one right here, it's got this wreath around an axe. That is your main headquarters. That's the last one you want to lose. It's usually the furthest set into your fortress, making it one of the easier ones to defend. Each defensive point provides different bonuses to your armies. This one over here provides melee defense and leadership. Affects units if their hit points are greater than 25 or they're in a fort, which is great. As long as you hold this, your troops will fight better. You don't want to particularly lose this. Over here, you've got a minor supply location. This generates supplies that you'll use building stuff on the battlefield. And this one really just prevents you from losing. Those are important because each one of these victory points is linked, as you can see with these lines, to a variety of towers and barricades. If, for example, I were to build a tower here, and then this victory point was to fall, that tower would be immediately destroyed. So what that means is, while it's great to have this defensive point right here with a tower that'll shoot everything that comes through, if somehow the enemy captures it, all of a sudden all the defenses there will collapse. Now on a battle map, there are sometimes locations that are, let's see if we have one here, easier to defend or not. Yeah, this is an example of a rather not so great victory location. So this covers a huge amount of land, 4 towers and 3 barricades, but they are on either side of it. So you've got defenses behind it, you've got defenses in front of it. It's also in a very exposed location, meaning it can be difficult to hold on to this defensive point. You might be better off fortifying a defensive point right here, where most of the defenses are in front of it. Therefore, it makes it harder for the enemy to get to it and capture it. Whereas a defensive point like this, well, yes, it has plenty of towers. The towers are behind the victory point. So by the time the enemies get in range of the tower, they've by and large captured the victory point, unless they're trying to rush past it, which by and large most enemies or even players won't do. It's worth capturing them so you don't keep getting shot. This one is another example. There's really no way to prevent an enemy from taking it outside of having troops here, but this one is significantly worse. You can advance from multiple directions. While you can fortify the forward towers, it's not worth fortifying the back towers because the odds are they will never come into play. So just when you look at a victory point, look at it and say, can I defend that? Yes or no? If you can, it might be worth fortifying it. Otherwise, it might even be worth giving it up towards the enemy. Like this one's a decent one to defend because you can wall it off and hold from behind, but the enemy can just simply walk around and take it. This one, by comparison, much better of a defensive point, probably one of the better ones in the game looking at where it is, because you can just throw up 2 barricades in a tower, and the only approach the enemy has is either hack through the barricade while getting shot or walk around where you can deploy troops. So let's talk about barricades and towers. So you have a supply pool that you get. If you're coming from a campaign map, it depends to a large degree on the level of your settlement and any defensive buildings, but these allow you to build stuff. You will gain more once the battle starts for every supply location you control, and you spend them on various things. So as you go around this, they get more expensive. So at the top here, you just have a simple barricade, but what it does do is it provides a range augment for any allies in the area, which is good, meaning you can place your archers or gunners on it, and they will shoot at the enemy. Until the enemy destroys the barricade, it will not be hitting your units. You can kind of see a ghost outline of what it will look like. Pretty standard little fortification. The next one here is a monument. You build it, it will buff the melee defense and leadership of your allies in the area. So it's pretty good for choke points where you won't be able to defend, or if you're a faction like the vampires who don't really have range units, having monuments or their equivalents to buff your melee units to hold a specific point are very powerful. The next one here, it's a trap. When the enemy walks through it, it will go off and it will slow their speed and melee attack, meaning you can either charge into them and they're weaker, or once they get through it, they'll be slowed and weakened for a half decent amount of time, meaning if you've got archers up here shooting down, they'll have more time before the victory point falls. And the final one here is a barricade blocker. This is kind of for melee units that it's basically for melee units while fighting an enemy with a lot of range. If we were to build it here, you'll see that it doesn't provide any spot for our archers to shoot over, but allies in this area around it will be less vulnerable to range attacks. So if you're fighting like a wood elf or anybody who brings plenty of archers to the battle, can be worth building those at times. Now, the towers follow a semi-similar logic. As you go around, they get better. The first one, 70 missile damage, 30 armor piercing. You send out 4 shots, decent range, pretty decent reload time, has hit points. Both they and barricades can be destroyed by enemies that attack them. In reality, it's only ever flying or artillery that tends to destroy towers. Usually they're destroyed when the victory point is captured, whereas barricades, you're not going to destroy them with ranged archers, but melee units can get involved. The next level here has more damage. It goes from 70 damage to 100, armor piercing from 30 to 50, reload time stays the same. Further on here, we get missile damage explosive, as well as explosive armor piercing. This is a much better unit compared to this, or much better tower. It goes from 100 damage to 500 damage, and it does armor piercing and explosive. This is a cannon tower. These are both archer towers, basically. And then finally here, you have the strongest tower, a massive explosive tower, 660 damage, 200 armor piercing. These vary based off the faction you're playing, but the reality is these two are ones you throw down to just spend supplies. These final two cannons and explosive towers are really what's going to kill strong enemy armies, armored units. These two will go well against unarmored, not particularly great against armored. Now, outside of that, there are gates. So every gate comes with a flag behind it. You'll see them right here. What this means is this is who controls the gate. At the start of the battle, the defender will control all the gates automatically until the enemy captures them. Once the gate is captured, the gate will automatically open for that side, meaning that's when stuff like cav or monstrous units who can't climb the walls or take the walls will be allowed in. On the walls is a similar mechanic. These are your towers, usually associated with 2 or so. You control this flag. You control those areas within that gray box. And those towers they're not immortal, but they have a huge hit points and they do decent damage. Once the victory point's taken, they will be converted to the enemy, annoyingly. The reality is they tend to just shoot outwards, so you don't really have to worry about them too much as a defender. Also, your fort walls have hit points. There's not a lot of units that can attack fort walls. Your basic infantry unit, like one of these guys, is not going to be able to hack their way through that wall. There are certain units, mostly monstrous ones, that are labeled like siege attackers. I don't think they actually have any here. Can damage the walls, as can artillery. If it happens to be destroyed, any units standing on top of the section, and it's not a very large section, it's only like that much, will be destroyed. And the units on top will take tons of damage, usually killing them all. The wall is still available to go up and down and defended, but that section is gone. There'll be a hole. You can usually plug it with a single unit. It's still okay for the defenders, but it does allow cav and monstrous units, chariots, and others to enter the battlefield. So if you're a defender, ideally you want to prevent the walls from being destroyed, but sometimes actually defending the outer walls is a bad move. Because defending the outer walls, you get no real advantage for defending the outer walls unless you're holding a tower. So, for example, right here, deploying these archers to fire on enemies that are in a siege tower, which is basically like a fortified ladder. They're immune to damage on the inside. These towers are hard to destroy. Usually takes 2 wall towers firing at one of them to destroy a single siege tower by the time it hits the walls. So if the enemy sends 2 or 3, your towers aren't going to destroy them. Thankfully, there's no offense from these. The other unit that you'll see a lot of the time is a battering ram. Again, it will take 2 siege towers firing at it pretty much the whole time until it gets to the wall to destroy it. Ranged units can shoot at it, but they do very little damage. It's very tanky and hard to destroy. This will head towards your gate and we'll start pounding on it. If it destroys the gate, and you'll see there's the health, which is the whole section of the wall, and then there's the gate health, which is noticeably less. Once that's destroyed, the gate is open for everybody for the rest of the battle. It doesn't matter about capturing it. So those will be the stuff you see the most often. Let's talk about how to defend a wall if you want to. If the enemies were advancing from here, it would make sense to try and control this wall because it would give me 2 towers firing for a decent amount of damage before the enemy gets there. Now, if they were sending siege towers, if they send one, it would be worth using the towers to destroy it. If they send two, you're almost better off not having the towers shoot the siege weapons, but shoot any units that might not be in the towers, because you're not going to be able to destroy more than one siege tower before it hits your walls, usually. If you don't have a tower, like this section here, there is almost zero reason to defend this section of the wall. So long as the wall still stands, cav and monstrous units cannot get inside. Because they can't get through the wall and they need a gate. So if the enemy had tons of cav, it's worth defending your outer walls so that they can't bring their cav units to play. But if they've got a lot of infantry, which these guys do, it's probably not a great plan to defend the wall, especially if they're never in range of the towers. Like these towers here, this one will shoot a bit, but overall, it's not worth trying to defend this section of the wall. It's one of the weaknesses of the Total Warhammer, or the Total War series in general these days, that usually defending your walls is a noob trap. Only new players really focus on defending their outer walls. Usually it comes down to defending your inner walls, where siege weapons, mainly siege towers, can't be brought into play. Another thing to realize is, even though we've got this magnificent, wonderful wall here, any melee unit that you deploy here will simply go up to the wall and start climbing it. Unlike Shogun 2 Total War, where those units that climb the walls seem to die even to basic infantry, in this game, they all manage to climb the wall, and they will usually wreck your defenders on the top, specifically if they're ranged units. There is no way to stop infantry or archers or even heroes from climbing your walls other than killing them before they start. Previously, they needed ladders or rope ladders or stuff, and that made a little bit more sense, but now they just freely climb your heavy defensive wall. And since you don't really receive a buff to defending the walls, there's very little reason to do so. Meaning you're going to spend a lot of the battle fighting on the insides of your streets, where if you've built towers and barricades, you can kind of direct the enemy to where you want, and it turns into more of a melee fight. The downside is you're ceding the ability to stop cav units from getting into your city, or monstrous units. So you have to weigh defending the walls. Do they have a lot of cav? Do they have a lot of monsters? Am I going to even be able to hold the wall in melee combat? Do they have towers shooting? There's a lot of questions to consider. So let's look at this actual battle. Sorry it's taken so long, but there's a lot of mechanics here. Also, these victory points, even if the enemy takes your final victory location, they don't automatically win. It does tick down at some point. If they control your victory sites, they will win, meaning you do have to defend them. So we're fighting Norska. We've got our army. Let's think about where we want to hold. We already know that this area right here isn't worth holding, mainly because we can't defend the wall effectively. So let's consider this area. Are we going to be able to defend this wall? We don't have any towers to shoot them. They've got a battering ram. They've also got some monstrous units here. So it would be worth it if we could try and hold, but we're not going to be able to. So that wall's a bust. This wall, on the other hand, we do have a tower. We have 2 towers, and all they have is a battering ram. But they also have some cav. This is actually a wall we'll probably want to defend. Also because this victory point right here absolutely sucks. And so we'll place some defenders on this section of the wall. Let's think about what we want here. Handgunners are going to be relatively effective until the enemy gets to the wall. On the other hand, most of the enemies we're fighting here are not heavily armored, other than Wulfric, who's... We're going to need some lords to deal with Wulfric. But the Marauder Horsemen, I'm pretty sure we should be able to kill them with Huntsmen or 2. So we'll put 2 Huntsmen here. We'll put a handgunner up here as well, in hopes of being able to shoot Wulfric a couple times. It looks like you could deploy your troops here up against the wall. It's not exactly. They should still be able to shoot, but it's not as effective. So let's actually put a couple units of handgunners here. If we could hold this wall with just range units, it'd be great. I don't think we'll be able to hold it We're going to need at least one, if not two, heroes here. If we put this guy up top, he might be able to help with Wulfric. So we'll have Franz here to help. And actually, you know what? Since Wulfric is so strong, we'll deploy Franz and the Empire Captain here, saving the Warrior Priest for elsewhere on the battlefield. So hopefully this side will hold on its own. I will give it a single unit of greatswords as well, just to make sure that we have a hope of stopping Wulfrid's advance. Now over here, we have almost no chance of defending this, so we're going to have to find another choke point. They could go this way and advance along the side. There's very little we'll be able to do to stop them. This side, on the other hand, we could make an argument to try and defend this victory point. Even if we don't defend it with units, we still should be able to defend it with the barricade and a tower to make it a little bit more effective. So if we were to do that, these guys are armored, right? Yeah. So we need armor piercing. Even if this can't stop them from taking the victory point, which it won't, it should at least delay them. And then if we throw down a barricade here, which handgunners aren't we using? These guys. We could defend there. That should kill any units approaching there. We'll deploy a single unit of greatswords to give them backup, especially if the enemy walk this way. Oof, if the enemy walk that way, what can we even do? I could throw down a basic tower to harass a bit. Be aware, towers have a huge range. So even though this is here, it's going to be able to shoot a lot. It can't shoot through its own walls, though, even though it might try. So in reality, it's only going to be able to hit stuff that it got a clear line of sight to. So, okay, that's that area covered, which means everything else is going to be focused on this side or further defenses. So we can't defend the wall, obviously, but we can defend right here. And this is a minor wall. So this is a much more effective wall to defend because they can't bring their siege towers to protect their units while taking it. Also, the AI is probably going to be more willing to walk around than try and climb a wall. So I'm going to I'll give them a greatswords as backup. And actually, I think I'll deploy the greatswords here. We'll put a couple greatswords there. This artillery unit, on the other hand, I'm tempted to deploy them here, where they can hit all those guys. Okay, so we'll have two greatswords here. You know what? I think we'll put our warrior priest here for the buffs. And then as the battle goes on, if we can, we'll try and put up a tower there. This is a nice choke point. Do we have any other range units? We do. Okay, we have a handgunner. You know what? Let's stick the handgunners up here as well. Actually, I might swap these two. There we go. So walking through here is going to kill off a good portion of their units. What are we looking at for greatswords? We have one free greatsword unit. We're going to need it over here. Our demigriffs, I'm going to keep them here. They're anti-large, so they should be able to take on a war mammoth. Now, we don't have anybody holding our inner area, which could be a problem. I think, though, we should be able to retreat to defend there if things start to go wrong. Besides, if you place all your army out on your walls and nothing back defending your mainland, even if you put one unit here, the odds are you'll still lose the battle. You'd have to put like 3 or 4 units back here, which weakens your forward defenses. So I think this is the best deployment we're going to get easily here. This is a pretty good city to try and defend. Obviously, all of this here, we're just ceding to the enemy because we don't have supplies to defend. So let's give this a shot. Hopefully, the big focus is if we can hold this side against Wulfric, we'll be in great shape. As we'll see, we get 9 supplies a second. And our archers should wreck these Marauder horsemen, which should give us a good start. I'm going to take our towers, though, and focus them on Wulfric. I don't know if we're going to be able to stop the battering ram, but Wulfric is the big threat, being a Lord Hero there. Over here, they are not actually advancing, or they are with the battering ram. This side, they're just going to rush forward and take the wall. Technically, we're shooting at them. Why are we taking damage there? Huh. Odd. We're getting some shots and damage off. It's not very effective, but at least we're not wasting our shots on the siege towers. Enemy ladders have docked on our walls. Yep, that's what I thought would happen there. I want to save up to get 1,400. Ah, they've got a mage. That's why we took some damage there. Ah, Shaman Sorcerer of Death. Let's get back over to Franz and his side. So we want to focus fire as hard as we can on Wulfric. Annoyingly, he is armored and shielded, but there's very little we can do there. What we can do is we can... Oh, he's not in range yet. But once he does, we'll do an accusation on him, which should slow and weaken him significantly. In the meantime, though, it looks like we're probably going to get him before he gets to the walls. Make sure our guy here is shooting at Wulfric. We're going to accuse him, which weakens his missile resistance a lot. So this should help a lot, killing him. This side, they're actually going to bash down the walls, which give us time. Over here, they are advancing. We are shooting at them, thankfully. I think we should be able to get a defense, almost. They've decided not to fight us here, interestingly. They're going to go elsewhere. Probably for that victory point, I fortified a bit. Okay, so they've captured the gates. The gates are open, meaning other units could cross in. On the other hand, they're just letting my gunners and ranged units just shoot them to death. My gates are destroyed over there, so now we've got to worry about mammoths and stuff. Wulfric died? Did Wulfric die? I think Wulfric died. I wasn't paying attention. Pretty sure he did. We're going to deploy those two. With that, outside of this battering ram, we've held the walls. By the time those walls fall, which they just did, we'll have also gotten some range attacks off. See if we can engage them before they get to there. Oh, Wulfric's still alive, but almost dead. They are totally ignoring that side, which is a problem. Okay. Since they're trying to flank me, let's try and deal with them there. They might just be trying to ignore all my defenses and race towards my starting area. So let's try and relocate towards the inner victory points. Or maybe they aren't. Maybe they're just going to move to there. We can't be sure yet. I'm actually going to send both of these guys to hunt this guy down. Go forth, my demigryphs. This, I believe, is attached to this one, right? It is. Okay. We'll throw down a tower there. Be aware, of course, towers take time to build during battles. Franz is taking casualties and damage, which isn't good, but on the other hand, what we are managing to do is get... I got to get Franz out of there. We are managing to tie up the enemies outside our walls, which is good. Franz is running away. That's not great, but it's okay. Mammoths suck to fight, let me just tell you. They are hard to kill. Okay, let's see what else is going on. These guys are still shooting. They've taken that victory point, and they're harassing me here. You know what? I might advance on them here, since they're pretty weak. How are my demigriffs doing? I think my demigriffs have succeeded, right? Yeah, they've almost got him. The mammoth's causing trouble. There's little I can do to stop it at the moment. They are going to advance on that victory point. Good. Fran's recovered, but I want to make sure he's safe. Let's send him back to hold the final choke point. This guy almost died as well. So now these guys are the inside of our wall. Here's a little trick. You can just simply take your units and make them stand on your inner walls, and they will shoot at the enemies on the inside. I just got to find a spot for this guy to stand. So hopefully that should take care of those mammoths. We're slowly winning there. Those guys should die. That tower's up. This one has a tower, I believe, right? Oh, way up here. Oh, it'll work. Let's put some defense there. What happened to my demigriffs again? They won. Okay. We're going to charge horsemen into mammoths, because that's apparently something we do. Okay, those should kill those guys. They smashed one of my walls. Okay, they've decided to split up here, and as I thought, they would get to that victory point. These guys have won, so I'm not too worried about them. Oops, where are you? You're here. Okay, we won on this side. So now we can pull our troops off the walls and head over to here. Oh, Franz totally ditched the battlefield, unfortunately. Okay, demigriffs won there. Send them against that mammoth. This guy is chasing him. Okay, so we lost a victory point right there. So our building was destroyed, but this building held. So technically we could advance to try and retake it, but it wouldn't do anything. Come on, off the wall. So these guys we're going to try and get to attack. Come on, finish off those marauders, please. Oh, we've regained a gate. That, I guess, is okay. I need you up here to deal with that mammoth who's absolutely wrecking us. You succeeded. Now I want you to turn around and shoot that mammoth, please. Killing mammoths with handguns. Totally a fantasy world with that. Oh, these guys are still alive somehow. Good for him, I guess. You're still alive too. This is a problem. Okay, how are my demigriffs doing? Ah, we've routed the mammoth. Now what we got to do is finish off the warriors, who are just getting absolutely massacred. Are you going to get this guy ever? Boy, for a magic use, this guy's holding out a lot longer than he should. Okay, we've won on this side. We could retake that. There's very little point. this battle was going longer, we'd be worried a little bit more about our towers and stuff. You, on the other hand, I want you to go after those guys. Same thing with there. They've still got a strong army, even though we've beaten them on multiple fronts. Oh, army loses. Okay. So even though their army was still pretty strong, they gave up. And that's pretty common. It feels rather weird since a lot of their units still had decent morale, but that's the game, I guess. So we won. All told, our defenses over here worked out really well. Some of our defenses on the other sides were a problem, but in reality, outside of the mammoths and some of the Femir warriors, nobody really gave us much challenge because we never fought them. We just shot them from a distance. The gunners worked really effectively. The huntsmen did okay as well. The rocket battery didn't work because they never massed up. And our heroes proved to be relatively useless outside of tanking powerful monster units, which is pretty normal. So that was a defensive battle. Let's prep for an offensive battle. You know what? I'm thinking since we just did a battle as the Empire versus Norska, why don't we do a battle as Norska versus the Empire? That way you guys can kind of see the reverse. And I'll try and create a fairly similar army comp on both sides, so you'll get to see the difference in tactics. The way I deployed my troops was different than the way the AI does them on defense, and really helped win us that battle. Let me just go through all of this. Yeah. Okay, so that's the enemy army. Similar to ours, a little bit more focus on artillery and melee than range. So let's do what we have here. We're going to take Wulfric. We learned how powerful those mammoths were, so we're going to take a couple war mammoths. They should, by and large, wreck his army. The issue, to some degree, is going to be getting through the walls. Let's see what we got here. Marauder champions are really good at melee combat, specifically fighting their way through walls. What else we got here? We should get a mage first off. Sorcerer, and we should also grab a wolf skin, similar to the Empire Captain, strong melee unit. I want a chariot. These guys have got their spells. We could put Wulfric on a war mammoth, but I won't because he didn't have one in the first battle. We'll give ourselves 2 siege. Oh, game's not letting me do it. Oh, I must be exceeding the funds. Let me up the funds. Sorry. It really doesn't matter since I'm designing the army here. But this is... Oh, it's not allowing me to do more on the offense. Interesting. So it's only giving me the option of 1 or 1. Oh, maybe because they don't have enough infantry yet. Yep, that's it. Okay. That was why. You have to have more infantry in order to be able to deploy more of these, which makes sense, I guess. There is a construction cost on a campaign battle. Okay, we've done that. We're going to build some skin wolves, since they're monstrous units. What else we want? We could have a flying monster. Sure, what the heck. We'll do a flying guy. I'm going to pick at least one. Actually, no, I don't want to. I guess I could pick one of these. I'd kind of like a melee range unit, but whatever. One of those guys did really well last time. We'll pick a couple berserkers, because why not? And we'll do a skin wolf. Okay, so that's pretty similar to the setup they had last time. Obviously a little bit of a difference giving ourselves a flying monster, but Everything else is similar. So let's get the battle going. Okay, so it's a very different interface for an offensive battle versus a defensive battle. We don't know where they are since they get to deploy second on the defense. We get to deploy first. The game just kind of throws you on the battlefield. So you really have to redo it. We can deploy anywhere that's green, and it's worth looking over the defenses to figure out where you're going to attack. Attacking like right here with all these towers is dumb. Every fortress has a weak point. The AI's attack on us last game over here, where there were no towers to attack, was actually really good. The AI deployment was good. How they used their troops was relatively bad. The reality is they shouldn't have attacked right here because there were towers. They should have attacked right here where there were no towers. So we're going to do a similar approach to what Wulfric did last time. Now we're Wulfric, but we're going to be a little bit smarter about it this time. We're going to use our war mammoths as a group rather than individuals where they got swarmed and taken out. We're going to use a battering ram here. As an attacker, you can attack one point, or you could attack multiple points on a battlefield. Usually, you're better off attacking multiple battle points because it spreads the defenders thinner. And remember, they have buffs to defense. So what you want to do is win at least one entry point to the walls and then race for supply points or victory points, forcing the enemies to come off their walls and defenses to deal with you. So this should take this area. We're going to save the flying unit for another time. We're going to have these three. Yeah, I think we'll attack with these three over here because they're strong melee units. We've already got these three. We'll keep skin wolves here as well. This is probably going to be the gate that falls first, in my guess. So we got some armored skin wolves. I'm going to keep them here since they're more likely to be needed to race through the town. These guys are just really strong. There's really no way around it. Those guys are just strong. Deploy a couple of these guys there. The rest will all go down here. We've got 2 siege towers. We're going to deploy 1 on each side. We probably won't need them, but if the enemy really tries to defend the walls, this will give us a better chance of getting and taking the walls and killing the units on them before the AI is ready. And we're not even going to attack this side. We're going to entirely ignore that front. So the AI probably won't put defenses there, which is fine. But overall, we've kind of split up our strongest units. And we've got this guy here to adapt. So let's see what the battlefield looks like. So, surprise to surprise, they have a lot of defenders in this one corner. Nothing over there. If you've got invis units, you can try and sneak over walls sometimes and do stuff. They've got a lot of defenders here. They chose a very odd decision of not putting any range units on this front, but instead melee. That's actually to our advantage. So we're going to order a landing on the walls there. We're going to order an advance with the battering ram to attack there. We're just going to move the rest of our units up in general. Okay, I'm actually going to group those 3. So that's that front taken care of. This guy here, where is their rocket battery? Do we know? There's their rocket battery. I could send them in there directly, but the odds are we'll get swarmed by prawns. So we're going to move him over here. We're going to send the berserkers to the wall there. You to there. These guys, we're going to actually try a very interesting strategy, which is you rush the wall and you stay just within the shadow of it, which makes it very hard for the enemies to actually shoot down at you. In fact, since all of these are melee units, what we can do is we don't even need this. We can just simply rush the wall with our troops. So I think that's everybody given orders to. Yep. Let's see how this goes. What we've got to do is close this distance to the walls faster rather than slower. The longer the longer we take to actually get to the wall, the stronger the enemy's defensive position is. And you'll notice they immediately backed off. They can't hold the wall. They're not even trying to at this point. Which is a smart move on their part, to be honest. I'm going to hit that steam tank, though, with some damage. There we go. So we don't actually have to go up the walls. We will go up the walls with some troops, though, because it's worth it. What else are we looking at? We're getting shot over here. They did, in fact, rush some archers over. Smart move on their part. The only biggest downside of using battering rams tends to take quite a while to get them to the battlefield. Franz is detecting our advance and doesn't want to fight us. You'll see our units are just climbing the walls. We're sending in Wulfric first because Wulfric is an absolute monster. I'm not kidding. Wulfric is horrific to fight. It's kind of stupid how strong he is. Okay. We have to send it over there. Honestly, I'm almost tempted to just drop it at this point. Oh, our mage is actually getting killed, which isn't good. Franz has, in fact, landed on the walls, so now is our chance to attempt to do something. Actually, just back off for the moment. We want to hit Franz with a spell if we can. Our worm unit we're going to send in to hopefully get their inner stuff. Our units are struggling a bit on the battlefield. There's not much we can do about that. The flagellants are going to be annoying to fight. Wulfric is doing fine, as expected. Wulfric, the absolute monster that he is. Oh, we actually destroyed the gate, so we can, in fact, invade now. We don't have to try and take the walls anymore. Hit Franz again. Why leave Franz alive if we don't have to? Gates have been destroyed, meaning in we go. Okay, we routed temporarily their Hellstorm battery, which is good. Use Wulfric's special ability. Sea Fang. Do some damage. Franz is still alive, but we're doing more and more damage to him every time. Let's see, that side's going fine. There's not much I can do to command it. This side is doing well as well. Even though they've held the walls, we just smashed right through their troops. Oops, we got people standing idly around. That's not allowed. No idleness allowed. Send him up against Wulfric if we can. Or Boris, I guess. I guess it's not France, it's Boris, isn't it? I wasn't paying attention. Wrong people. Why aren't you able to actually attack them? That's weird. Because they're on a barricade, I can't hit them. Okay. So these guys right here, we've taken over their defenses. I'm just going to take these wolves and run straight for their final base. Everyone else here, it's worth smashing these barricades. Oh, I forgot to even send these guys in. My bad. Don't forget your units where they are on a battlefield. It can be very stupid. We get this yet? We've almost got it. So even though we've taken the walls, we're now running across the problem of they've got defenses on the inside, which we have to fight our way through. And that's just the way it goes. I'm so not worried about Wolfric. Why aren't you going in? Oh, he got hit. That's why. He keeps getting hit by cannon shots, so he can't move. That's funny. Okay. All good on that front. Good for you. I want you to advance. We're about to take those defensive points. Honestly, this fight on the walls, we're not winning, but we're not losing either. So I guess that counts as a victory. You take that. Already capturing their main capital point. Smash that barricade. Boy, he is not letting my unit get up to actually get to their steam tank, is it? He keeps shooting him down. Okay, that time he survived it. Good. Go against Boris if you can. Just have to be aware that even if you take the walls, the enemies tend to rally a lot in their own defensive. If they're in their own area, they rally a lot to defend. It's just the way it goes. Okay. Not sure why they just pulled their troops off the wall to fight us, but they did. Okay. We just took this area. Taking that area. We've taken that almost. Takes a long time to take that one. They finally smashed my troops over here. Or almost. They're still hanging on there. Another area captured. Another area captured. So now, technically, it's just a matter of really waiting. You get this momentum as you capture more stuff. It buffs your units. Basically, if you're winning, you start to win harder. If you're losing, well, it doesn't help you much. This steam tank, what, it's gained 3 levels of XP? Yeah, 3 levels of XP through fighting. That's actually kind of impressive. It shows you how many units of mine he's killed. Wolfric lost, apparently, versus Toddbringer. He did damage, but he didn't win. I don't know why, but this guy right here, this wereskin guy, he's just not being effective. I don't know if you guys have noticed. He just keeps stopping fighting. Quite weird. This is where using the tactical map to keep an eye on where your troops are can become extraordinarily helpful. To try and find out, okay, we've routed here, we're winning there, etc. And the army has lost. The only issue right now is the steam tank here, which just refuses to give up. And victory is ours as it explodes. So, as you can see, even though we won, it was a very hard-fought battle. Obviously, our mammoths were still alive, as were our armored wolves, but everything else took a lot of casualties. I honestly think the easiest reason we won that is we stole some of their key buildings early, but I suspect they would have done about the same even if we hadn't captured points. We were just too overwhelming, and they didn't manage to get their range units to be that effective. They had a good move there by retreating the steam tank, though, as well as holding the wall with Boris. But as you can see, their range units here, outside of this one handgunner, they were entirely useless. They would have almost been better off replacing them with greatswords, who proved to be way more useful. And that's kind of how it worked out. The Marauder champions did a great job against the range. They lost against the Empire's melee. But because we didn't allow them to bring any of their wall towers to bear, we got to the walls without too many casualties. I think we lost 1 unit to range pretty close. It went pretty well. One thing I might have changed would have been to send send my lords probably to the left battle on that tight corner to smash those troops rather than tying them up trying to fight Boris. Mainly because this wolfskin guy was entirely useless. But overall, it went pretty well. So as you can see, figuring out where the weak spot in the enemy defenses are, ignore the wall towers if possible, and then once you get through the walls, it's pretty much a race to see who can grab the supply points first or defend them, at which point the battle swings heavily in the attacker's favor if they capture 3 or 4 of them. And so that is a guide on some basic battle tactics for Siege. Hopefully it's helped you. If it did, like, subscribe, comment, all those great stuff, and check out some of my other videos. Glad you watched it. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.